And as always, we're going to be looking for accurate context, good risk management, and always exercising good patience.
Anytime you're talking about fundamentals in a market and direction, fundamentals take a little bit of time to play out.
We got crude oil today, kind of trading yesterday's value area really nicely, low to high.
That's what we're here for, is to put ourselves in the best success. A trading routine does that, builds that habit, lets you know what to work on, what to reflect on, and what to improve on the next day.
Hello, people out there, and welcome to Coach's Playbook for Tuesday, the last day of August, 2021. I'm reading that date off. Today, we're going to have some fun. We're talking about our favorite and least favorite, and maybe most accurate and least accurate. I just thought of trading movies, which I think would be fun. But first, Mick, you want to kick us off with the shout out of the day?
Yes, I do have a shout out here. Big shout out to Juan Rios, up $2,500 in the markets today. So keep up the good work, Juan.
Yeah, keep on going, Juan. And maybe you will find yourself in the Juan Rios story on Netflix coming in 2022.
Yeah.
Because as we went through this, there are a lot of trading movies out there that run the whole spectrum from just absurdity. I think more of your dramas, your Wall Street, or even Wall Street Money Never Sleeps, which was a real mess, all the way to hard documentaries about the financial crisis, or Paul Tudor Jones, or Floored, which we'll talk about in detail at the end of this. But I thought we could kick things off with one that we wanted to talk about. So, Mick, why don't we talk a little bit about Trading Places first?
Yeah, I'm glad you went with that first, because when I think of trading movies, I think of Trading Places. It was obviously a comedy with some of the best comedians out there, Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy, some other big names in the movie. But this is, a movie about trading commodity futures. And it's just a great movie in general. One of my favorites, not even in the trading category, just of all times.
Well, this is from an era too. This movie was made, I assume, in the 80s. I don't know the exact year, but this is at the height when Eddie Murphy was the most popular.
1983.
Yeah, this is like prime Eddie Murphy saved SNL, and then is just like at the height of his game. Funniest dude. This is way before Norbit. This is before Dan Aykroyd was selling Crystal Skull vodka and talking about the space Illuminati. This is two people at the top of their game, and it's about trading futures, which really not many of these other movies are. And actually a large plot. Well, we shouldn't give away too many spoilers on it, but futures trading plays a huge role in the movie if you haven't seen it, and sort of like the resolution of it. But
it's definitely a comedy, but there was actually some trading education involved in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was. Hogue, what do you think the great lesson of Trading Places is, besides the social one that
don't hire Clarence Beeks to get you inside information?
yes, absolutely.
And don't end up like Clarence Beeks at the end of the movie.
What was that quote? What was that quote that you posted there about repossessing the Bentley?
Oh yeah, one Dan Aykroyd says as he's walking through the halls of the building or the exchange, 1 minute you're up $500,000 in soybeans, and the next your kids don't go to college and they repossess your Bentley.
Yeah, well, I like the big takeaway of that movie too is sort of that anyone can trade. The whole premise, it's sort of one of those switching places movies, hence the name Trading Places, where they take a guy who's street smart and he trades it with some hotty toddy Ivy League guy on a bet. So check that one out. But
the usual amount.
Yes. So maybe we cut it now to some of the more serious ones. Or Dan, which do you want to talk about? I'll send it to you for here.
All right. Well, I got two I want to talk about. First off, I'm going to talk about one of my favorites. It's not hugely trading. It's a Russell Crowe movie called A Good Year, and he's a British investment banker. Uncle passes away, inherits his chateau in France, and he goes down. I think it's France, and he goes down to literally just sell the thing, get back to work, and get back to trading. And he got down there, and everything kind of changed. Met a lady. fell in love with the countryside again. And the way I look at it is, you get to a point in your career of trading and something else presents an opportunity. Don't ever hesitate to switch sides and say, you know what, I'm no longer going to trade. I'm going to go be a purveyor in Provence, and I'm going to drink wine all day. I mean, if that's an opportunity you have from trading, I fully support that. My goal is one day to just sit back, drink wine, and look out on
Well,
the south of France.
Don't forget, there are a lot of traders who do sit around and drink wine all day.
Yeah,
This
you
is
have to be
very
careful
true.
about that. There's actually one very successful trader that I'll tell you guys about afterwards from Chicago that at age 40 went and bought a castle in France. You got to make some good, in his case, Bitcoin bets to make that happen. But it doesn't mean that you can't find your own thing that you want to do, right?
Right. And I think that's what I take away from this movie. It's just, there's times you got to take a break, step aside. And as you guys know, I love taking my time off and getting out and traveling a little bit. So that's kind of what I loved about that movie. Now, on the flip side, there's one I want to talk about. And it's one that glorifies this idea of trading. And I hate how much it glorifies it now that I work with tons of traders, and it kind of sets this false notion. And it's also so far-fetched, both one and two. They are way too obnoxious. And Wall Street, absolutely can't stand it. Love the actors in it. Don't get me wrong. I love all the actors in Wall Street, but gosh, I can't stand those movies.
This was a controversial one at the beginning because some people liked, some people didn't. I fall on the side as I agree with Dan. I think it's the most 80s, whereas I think trading places is lovely and charming in his 80s-ness. Wall Street, I think, is just like the worst of the 80s, and the worst of Oliver Stone just being Oliver Stone. So that was my opinion. But Mick, you have a differing opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked the original for what it was. It was, an exaggerated, movie. Number one was good. I wasn't a big fan of number two.
Yeah, that was more, and it was more a movie about the corporate raiders than it was about trading. Although we say trading can apply to anything you put a price on, it's definitely more of a different industry than, futures trading or something like that. Hogue, do you have something you want to toss out? Do we talk about Florida now, or first? Why don't I talk about Margin Call first? Because I want to say, if you haven't seen Margin Call, go see that. That's a good trading movie.
That's Kevin Spacey, correct?
Before we knew he was a monster, but you could put that aside for now. It also has Demi Moore. It has Zachary Quinto. It has Stanley Tucci. Who doesn't love the Tooch? Paul Bettany. Who else? Oh, Jeremy Irons, Scar from The Lion King, plays the CEO. They keep on going up the chain, and eventually, it's great. It involves the financial crisis, drama, trading. And I think it's a more accurate representation of trading I've seen in some movies than, say, the show Billions, which I just started watching and I like, but seems to posit this universe in what a hedge fund does is have a bunch of people sit around in a conference room and pitch stocks that they think will go up or down. And that's apparently how the most popular or the best hedge fund in the world is supposed to run. I haven't worked for one of the top hedge funds in the world, but I imagine that what they do is very different than that. And I'm not saying there's not inside information involved, but I don't think they just sit around and be like, we're going to sell Apple today. And everyone's like, yeah, they vote on it. So that was my problem with Billions. But as we move sort of the documentary thing, because I think, Hogue, you probably want to mention Floored, right?
Yeah. I mean, I lived through it. There are a lot of the people that are interviewed and that they talk about in that movie were people that worked, just a few feet from me in the S&P pit. So, just the reality of it, of electronic trading taking over what had been, I mean, everybody thought that the trading pits were very romantic. They were very, very hard places. And it was the way business was done in futures for 150 some odd years. And this was the story of how it affected some of those floor traders, and every floor trader was affected in one way or another from the advent of electronic trading. You know, now it's available to anybody, but people that depended on that one-on-one transaction for their living, a lot of people lost a lot, and it's a very real movie.
So it was a real gateway for the middle class too in Chicago for a long time that just disappeared over the course of years. So the movie we're talking about, I think you can find it online. It's called Floored. It's from 2009. It's a documentary, as Hogue said, about the switch to electronic tradings in Chicago. And you see a real spectrum of, I would say, how one thing I really liked about the film was how money is not necessarily connected to happiness. Some people were clearly not doing well because they lost a lot of money, but some people were not doing well even though they had made a lot of money. So I think that that's just a good thing to take away from anything you're doing, trading or otherwise.
Yeah, I really go ahead, Dan.
I was just gonna say, have you ever seen anyone sad on a jet ski? No. Money does buy happiness.
Yeah,
Kenny Powers.
Kenny Powers.
I was gonna say that's Kenny Powers. Yeah, I really liked Floored. While I liked it, you know, it was also a very depressing documentary, short documentary. It's on YouTube for free. I think I have it on Blu-ray. I remember going to see it with my father the first day it aired, out on a small movie theater by our house. You know, it's like you guys said, it's a documentary about the transition from trading in the pits to the screen, and it mostly features all CME guys, some characters, but it's a good watch. But it is kind of a sad movie when you know see some of these guys and their stories.
Well, it's good not to just see the entire some of these movies borderline glorify things. And for instance, I really liked Wolf of Wall Street. I don't think it's necessarily a valid. I guess the criticism, I think they go too far. I think they show that the guy is an asshole. But if people don't take it that way, well, I don't know what to tell you. JD, do you have anything you want to discuss before we go into, I think, I'm going to list off a few movies that I think people should watch. Some of them are documentaries, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's one movie in particular that sticks out to me. We talk a lot about risk management around here, and for good reason. Like if you're looking for a good film to learn the wrong way to do things, how not to manage risk, check out this flick called Rogue Trader with Ewan McGregor from 1999. I think it's free on YouTube right now also. But it's the true story of this trader, Nick Leeson. He was a floor trader in Singapore. He traded Nikkei futures and options. And it's a story of how he turned a $10,000 losing trade and just pulled out the cannon. Every time it went against him, he doubled down. And it worked for him a couple times. And then this one time he just got stuck the wrong way and an earthquake struck in Indonesia or something. And like Asian markets tanked, but he basically took down one of the largest, most respected merchant banks in England,
Barings Bank. Yeah. It's an incredible story. You can read the Wikipedia too, or watch the movie if you want to see Ewan McGregor throw it down, which I think is good. But it does show, I think for everyone out there, you got to ask questions sometimes when things seem too good. I think it's a common theme in a lot of these rogue trader situations where, to my knowledge, I think I mentioned this before we went on air, but like Nick Leeson just had private accounts where he was just hiding all the trades that went against him that no one knew about.
He was basically hiding the same trade for over 3 years until they eventually, well, he skipped town. That's how they figured it out.
Yeah. Well, that my friend is no way to live your life.
The O'Hare spread.
Oh, have we talked about that before, Hogue? Tell everyone out there.
Not live.
Okay, let's talk about it live. Hogue, tell them what the O'Hare spread is.
Well, the O'Hare spread is you were on the trading floor. You were probably down a lot of money, so you put a huge position on, jumped in a cab and went to O'Hare and called the trading floor to see where the position, where the market was according to that position. If it was a winner, you'd cover the position and go back to the floor. If it was a loser, you'd buy a plane ticket and get out of town.
Yeah.
So I have heard about this O'Hare spread my whole life, and everyone I've ever talked to about the O'Hare spread has never actually known anyone that's done it. Have any of you guys known anyone that's actually attempted the O'Hare spread?
I think it's based on Nick Leeson. He seems to be the only person that I'm aware of that actually went through with it. Because, you know,
I've heard about it my whole life, and I've never met anyone that knew of anyone doing it.
I've thought about it a couple of times.
I've done I've done smaller versions of it where, like, I would never violate the risk management terms of a firm, but I've definitely had a position where I'm like leaving in town or something, and then like deciding right before whether to puke it or not, or something like that. But yeah, I have not done it. I don't recommend it to anyone out there too, whether it's the Raleigh Durham spread or the Dallas Fort Worth spread or whatever you're trying to do. Just don't.
Well, I mean,
Probably better to.
My dad did it a couple of times, but in good ways. You know, he and his buddies would be up so much on Friday afternoon, they would just go to O'Hara and wake up in New Orleans on Tuesday.
Yeah. I once missed a flight and made a lot of money, and then so that has happened, but never the other way around. So a few other documentaries I think you should check out about trading that I think are great. Smartest Guys in the Room, I believe it's called, which is about the Enron collapse, which, if you're not aware, was all due to commodities trading and energy trading they were doing. We mentioned Floored. If you can find it online, check out Trader, the documentary. Paul Tudor Jones has tried his best to get this taken down because he's a wee bit sensitive. I don't think he comes off that bad on it, but he comes out super dorky. That's the one where he's putting on Bruce Willis's sneakers to like rally a trade for him. You guys have seen this, right?
Yeah, it's been years since I've seen it, but that was I like that, and I recommend that one. That was a good one.
Yeah,
there's a whole lot of movies that the internet considers trading movies, and I don't see it. What do you guys think? It's a Wonderful Life? No.
We mentioned risk management though. We said don't give your money to your
that's right.
dumbass uncle.
$2 left. Got $2 left.
Yeah.
Citizen Kane. Not that I've seen that, but
I've seen Citizen Kane. It's about a newspaper titan. He does have early the 29 crash is featured prominently in it, but I would not call that a trading movie.
How about Working Girl, Melanie Griffith? Probably not a trading movie.
I have not seen it.
Social Network is in there on Facebook.
American Psycho as a trading movie.
Closer. He works at they confuse a lot of banking movies with trading movies, and like Social Network, just because they mention a stock. I guess any movie in which there is a business that is publicly held is now a trading movie.
I think so.
There you go.
There's one good.
Surprised me.
There's another good documentary I really like. Board of Trade base, Chicago Board of Trade base. My Word is My Bond, and this one, talks about trading on the floor, and it's very different than Floored. It's basically, talks about the integrity of, in the name of the video, it's My Word is My Bond, and, talks about the integrity of the traders.
Well, a lot of that was, you made a trade with somebody and you wrote it on your card. And if it was a loss for you, what was to keep you from throwing that card on the floor and DKing the trade?
Saying it never happened.
Yeah. There was a lot of honor among traders that nobody was going to be doing that.
Yeah, and to your comment there, John, I know that has happened. I know people it's happened to. And I think, at a certain point, for those people that might, lose a card or say they never made a trade on a losing trade when it's not in their favor, those people do get weeded out because people eventually won't trade with them. And, in the period of time I was standing down in the grains room, there were some strong words towards some people, and some people were ignored because they were the snakes in the pit.
Well, even like it was taken to the extreme sometimes. I know the firm that I traded at, and this is when it was electronic, is on the open. If you got a legitimate favorable fill that you don't think the other side would have done, our CEO made us like bust those trades. There's a process through which you can do that in the open. You'd have to call, I can't remember, this is so long ago, like call up the it wasn't usually in futures, it was usually in the cash position, so I can't even remember who we called, but it was so important that you weren't even considered someone that was taking advantage of people. Because you're right, your word's your bond. So cool. Well, I think that's probably a good place to cut it for now. I can't think of any more trading movies off the top of my head. Although now I have
Big
to
Short, something I have on my list. That's a good one worth watching.
Oh, yeah.
Housing crisis.
Yeah, I feel like every so obviously I feel like everyone's seen it. I like The Big Short. Inside Job is a documentary about the same, is also good. I think those are all good things to take a look at.
I'm surprised how many I have not seen.
I'm thinking the same thing, Hug. I don't know many of these movies.
All right. Well, it's a coach's binge watching weekend. One of these
Right?
weekends.
Oh yeah, I can throw out more. There's When Genius Fails, is a documentary about long-term capital management. I haven't seen it, but I've read about that. And then Arbitrage is a Richard Gere movie that's maybe a little too dramatic for.
I have seen that one.
But that's another risk management one where it's not really about the trade, but it reminds me of how long-term capital management went. It's like they have had a giant trade on that could not go wrong, that they had hedged in such a way, but then it does go wrong because of things that are out of your control that you don't think about. So
if they ever say it can't go to zero, don't believe them.
Yep. Crude oil.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think we'll probably leave it there for now. Dan, do you have any quotes?
Well, I had a couple lined up. The one I was going to use has been used already. So we're going to stick with another Trading Places quote. And it comes from Lewis Winthrop. In this building, it's either kill or be killed. You make no friends in the pits and you take no prisoners.
Fear, that's the other guy's problem.
I like that, Hug. So I think we'll leave it there for now. We'll see you guys all. Are we going to do it next Tuesday? Because it's the day after Labor Day. Are we still scheduled?
Yep.
All right. Well, let's do it then. We'll see you. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend if you're in the United States. Power to the workers. And we'll see you next week.